Hello, everyone. Rick Albert here, realtor here in Los Angeles and investor. Welcome to the Knowledge Broker Show. Today, I have Juan Lucero. Juan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. My name is Juan Lucero. I'm a local Arizona real estate agent and investor here in the Phoenix Metro. And just want to put my 2 cents in and what we got going on in Rick's adventure and kind of go see where it takes us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to talk about how AI is screwing everything up. So, AI has a ton of great benefits, automation, research, typing up stuff, but also we're seeing a lot of fake news going out there. And then to me, at least, a bigger concern is we're going to see a lot of scams, right? Fake loan officers, fake real estate agents. I can't tell you how many leads I get that are probably AI and they're asking for information. So that's what the topic is today. Juan, what have you been seeing on your end?
Yeah, man, kind of about the same stuff that you have. I'm really, so here in Phoenix, wholesaling is really popular, right? Wholesaling, what it is you're going directly to a seller, trying to write a contract with them, and then you lock up the contract and sell it to an investor. So basically, this opens up a ton of door for fraudulent stuff. What I've been seeing from the feedback that I get from title companies is fraudulent characters using AI, using all kinds of different things in order to be passed up as the original owner. Original owner might be deceased, might be out of state, might not even do anything with the property physically day to day, but you see contracts and stuff come across where these even on Facebook listings and stuff like that. You'll see a lot of that.
Interesting. So the AI, so basically someone's instructed AI, right? Because there's always someone behind the scenes, just less
Correct.
But they're basically coming in and assigning these contracts, and they may not even own the home, but they have someone playing in the background as if they were the homeowner or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the times they create fraudulent documents and stuff like that using ChatGPT. You could tell right away because of the verbiage that it has on there. It's very robotic, very, it's not, the standard legal terms and stuff like that. It's, misspellings and kind of that type of thing. Where you can see it just came off, they literally copied this off of ChatGPT. So that's what you're starting to see a lot in these fraudulent documents. And like I said, you see a lot with the wholesaling because we have a lot of out-of-state people that own property here. So, like you said, there's always somebody behind the scenes and they take advantage of those type of situations.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about from a loan perspective, right? Like you have a lot of these first-time home buyers who have no idea what the process is. And like for me, one of my biggest red flags with loan officers, so anyone who's watching, one of my biggest pet peeves is when you have like a Gmail address or like MSN, because it's like you're dealing with highly sensitive stuff and you're asking them to send it to your Yahoo email. And so, yeah, I could totally see how someone might mistaken someone for a loan officer and ends up being AI. And then all of a sudden, all this private information is going out, bank statements, social security numbers, all that, or money being transferred into an account that shouldn't be there.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you of a situation that I had of a coworker of mine. He had a first-time buyer. Somebody contacted them, said, "Hey, it was about 5 days before they were supposed to close. They got their information somehow, some way, right? And so somebody called the buyer, and they were like, "Hey, we need to just send a test deposit. We know you're about to close in a few days, and we just need to make sure that everything goes through correctly. So the day that you close, we don't have any flaws." So the guy he didn't reach out. He didn't do anything. He was out $3,000. Oh man, I mean, they got him. Like you said, there's a lot of things that we as real estate agents, being in the industry, I think we have the leg up to see those fraudulent things. The Gmail associated with lenders, that they don't at all. A legit lender is not going to have that. Even just like I said, going back to the verbiage that they use in these scam emails, you can see they're not locals. They're not somebody here that's writing these emails or anything like that. You could really see the information that comes through. But just a regular person, it's tough, and they're getting better and better every day. And this AI, man, is just it's the cherry on top. If scammers were good before, AI is it's really making it tough. It really is.
Well, isn't it like the latest version of Chat GPT has like a 90% pass rate for the bar exam? It's like
I think I read about that. That's
it's
insane.
like, okay, why wouldn't I have that just represent me? It's going to be cheaper than the $500 an hour in the
Yeah,
courtroom.
exactly. And it's so scary because you can tell it to write it in a certain format, right? Like
Mhm.
an actor, the way they speak and stuff like that, and AI will take that and write whatever you need it to do in Adam Sandler's way of talking, right? And
Sure.
just like that's insane, man. Like I don't know what to do with that. I don't.
Right. And so it'd be interesting seeing what's going forward, how this is going to play such a huge role. Like, is the National Association of Realtors going to crack down and say, okay, here's some more best practices that we have to do?
Sure. I think I think the National Association of Realtors really has to put out some training to inform everybody, to at least show them what to look out for, so that all the realtors can now go out there and educate the clients. Because, like I said, us being in the industry, we know a little bit about what to look for, but everybody else, they're subject to whatever comes across their screen, and sometimes it could be really really good, and they can't tell the fact and fiction.
Right. What I've been getting lately, I don't know if you've been getting it. I've been getting a lot of DocuSign emails
Oh yeah.
saying click here to
Mm-hmm.
sign. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. And then you look to see where the email's coming from. It's some random company,
Yeah.
business, whatever. It's like, really, guys? But
Yeah.
it's a thing. One of my clients called me about it. She's like, hey, FYI, if you send me anything through DocuSign to sign any contracts, let me know. Shoot me a text, give me a call saying it's coming through, because there's so many scams going on. And a lot of this could be just automation.
Right. It is. They set up one template and that just goes off. And with AI, it's just all adaptive. So it adapts to people's responses. It adapts to their
Right.
clicks. It adapts to everything. So that's the scary part about AI, right? Is that they build a template, and if it's decent and it gets some sort of response, it'll adapt to positive responses. And then you got this just mega scam, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, no. So I guess the question is, going forward, what should consumers do about it? Which I don't know if they can do much on the, hey, we're stopping AI, but I guess we can talk about like best practices, right? So
Yeah.
what are you advising you when you're doing your deals and all that?
Yeah, so over here in Arizona, we have a document called the Wire Fraud Advisor. I don't know if you guys have it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Super simple document, it's
Yeah, we
just like
do.
a paragraph long. And that the way I explain that document is I tell them like, hey, this is what you're going to be paying for out of pocket. It's usually going to go through me, or it's usually going to go through title or the lender if it's for an appraisal or something. But other than us as a team, you will not be getting, solicitations for, to give me money or to give the lender money or anything else outside of that. Anything that you do get some sort of solicitation about money or anything, just let us know. I tell them to check in with all of us, because we'll usually have an introduction to title. Who's the point of contact? Who's the point of contact with their lender? They should be pretty familiar with them already. And of course, myself. So outside of that, I tell them like just watch out for it. Anything that looks suspicious, like a DocuSign, I'll send you a text before I send you a DocuSign because of
Mm-hmm.
that. And basically that's it. That's all that I can do to keep them from it. Because other than that, it's real tough.
Yeah, what we're seeing on our end is escrow companies will send out wiring instructions, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll only give partial information. You
Mm,
have to call in to get the rest of it,
that's right. That's a
right?
good one. That's a
Yeah.
really good one because they give us
Yeah.
the full wiring instructions and they tell us to call. These guys don't call most of the time.
Right.
So if they only give partial information, I mean, that's gold. It really
Yeah.
is, because it forces them to maybe pick up that phone and call them.
Yeah, when I bought some properties out of state, they gave me the full information. I'm like, well, I have to follow my best practices here.
Right.
And, and so I called and they didn't answer. I'm like, I'm not wiring until I can talk to someone. Like, it just is what it is. There's so much out there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't know where it's gonna head to. I really, the only practice that we could do is just to get better at seeing it. I mean, phishing emails and all this stuff, like you could point them out, but I mean, it's a numbers game, right? They're in the numbers game. That's what they
Right.
do. So
Yeah, no, I agree. They'll get someone's right. So all those people who
yeah,
called all the grandmas and grandpas out there, because somebody will respond.
it's so unfortunate, but you're absolutely right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly how they work.
yeah, I know someone whose like father called him. His father was elderly and said, "Hey, is everything okay? I heard this and this." I heard our grandsons were like kidnapped and we need to wire money. And it's just one thing after another. Like, no, everyone's fine.
Exactly. So I heard a similar story, right? As a matter of fact, here I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was Facebook or something like that. Somebody posted that they had received a call, right? Their son was in an accident. They have a 15-year-old son. Their son was in an accident. The recording sounded of a young kid, right? Probably AI. And of course, they were, in jail. They needed to bail them out, asking for money to bail them out. And they even sent him a picture. They even sent him a picture of this kid in a jail cell. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so AI has this, I know this feature going around where you can do some different things with pictures and selfies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With social media, I mean, they could just take a social media picture, and even if it's just like a crop out or something, plug it into that system in AI and just completely go for it, right? The voice thing, I mean, voice changes has been around forever, right? So put it all together and
I mean, I probably haven't helped. I have a Google Voice number. So Google's probably listening in and learning my habits. Or like if I get phone calls, it'll transcribe the call.
Oh yeah.
So it starts to learn what works, what doesn't, which is always like a little like risky because sometimes my wife will happen to like look over and she sees I have a voicemail and says, "Hey babe." I'm like, they didn't say hey babe, they said hey Rick. It was just Google misinterpreting it. You're
It could
fine.
get you in trouble.
Right? You mean in a lot of trouble.
AI is insane, man. I mean, it's incredible, man. It's mind blowing what it is. It's super helpful. It's great technology, but just with everything that comes with it, I mean, all the bad stuff does too.
Yeah. What kind of regulations do you think we're going to see in terms of around AI and real estate and all of that?
Regulations, I'm not sure because now I see, for property description, it's
Yeah.
huge, right? I mean, it's such a helpful tool. Like, I don't even know how they would be able to regulate that
We
kind
can
of thing
ask
or how
AI
they
and get
plan it
their
out.
thoughts.
Exactly. And they'd probably give you a pretty dang good answer.
Yeah. Can you regulate yourself? Like, that'd be great. No big deal.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? That you think they'd regulate it? How would they regulate something so open ended, though? Right?
I mean, I think it's going to come down to it's going to be probably more best practices than it will be regulations, right? So, for
Sure.
example, I because I get a lot of spam client leads, right? Which is always a red flag for me because I'm like, why did you reach out to me? Like I
Yeah.
do, I'm happy with my business and it's growing and all that, but it's like there's some agents who do 30 deals a month. You think that
Sure.
would be a bigger, like easier target, but so I always say I got to talk to you over Zoom. I got to talk to you in person because there's people from out of the country. I've
Mm,
represented a client that was from out of the country. I never met him in person. He still owes me dinner, but I helped him buy. But it's one of those things where I think going forward, it's going to be I need to have a phone conversation with you, but I need to do it
yeah.
in person. And I know AI can replicate visually, but
Mm,
there's only so much we can do,
right.
right? So I think it's going to be a lot of best practices. I think it's going to be harder to regulate. It's going to be all right. We have to meet over Zoom or in person. I've heard some realtors where they require actually a copy of their driver's license and they have to meet at their office. I think
Mm,
that's a little much. That's like I don't really need someone's driver's license.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and I don't really need a lot of personal information because that's what the lender's for, right?
Right.
The lender can verify a lot of that. Um, but it'd be interesting to see if like, look, it's becoming a best practice as it should be anyways to get a pre-approval before showing houses.
Sure.
Right. Because
That's a
it
great
works
one.
both ways, right? These AI scams can happen towards realtors and it can happen towards the consumer. So at least on the realtor side, we can say, okay, are you a real person? I remember talking to someone who randomly found me and I said, okay, great, let's hop on a Zoom call. Oh no, I'm very shy. My English isn't that great. I'm
Mm.
like, no, sorry. Right. If your English is broken, that's fine. I've worked with that before.
Yeah.
And then on the consumer side, I think it's just a little bit of like common sense. It's, hey, these are the only players that are going to be talking to you
Right.
during this
Exactly.
process. That actually would be interesting going forward. If we send out an email at the beginning of every escrow, here are the people you're going to be talking to. If you hear from anyone else, notify me.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
I'm like
It's
taking notes here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a perfect one.
Yeah.
Where you kind of set your first foot forward with everybody and just whoever's going to be communicating, right? I mean, just everything can be mimicked. If you have a title company with a certain email, like that can be copied, add an extra letter or something to it, and it's tough to see. But I think that you're right. I think our biggest, our best tool that we have is just go with the gut feeling. Go
Yeah.
with your gut feeling if it feels wrong or if it feels fraudulent or whatever. Because you're right. I get those text messages like, "Hey, I'm a transfer company from Pennsylvania or whatever, and looking for referrals in your state. Would you agree for a 25% referral fee?" It's like, unsubscribe. You know,
Right.
stop something. But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think you do your idea of the Zoom calls to initially introduce yourself. I think that's pretty gold. I wish I was a little smarter than that. I just go out and meet people.
Oh no, if I can go out and
you
meet
know,
people, great. But I mean, I've been to Phoenix briefly.
yeah.
Great city, by the way. We went to like Grand Canyon, did all that.
Oh, nice.
Um, but here in LA is very widespread.
I gotcha.
So even though I'm still in the city of LA, it could literally take
Mm,
me an hour, 2 hours to get to another part of LA because of traffic.
right. You're absolutely
So it's
right.
like sometimes it's like, okay, we have to do it over Zoom because everyone's schedules. And
Yeah,
also for some people, they may not feel comfortable meeting in person yet. I mean, I always try to
absolutely.
meet at a coffee shop, right? That's like
Yeah,
a safe
pretty
bet.
neutral.
Yeah, right. Pretty neutral. I wonder also like with loan officers, because I get calls all the time from loan officers asking for my business, as I'm sure you do.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know what your response is now, but my response when they say, "Hey, how can I earn your business?" I'm like, "Well, let me ask you, how can I earn yours?" It works both ways.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they get taken aback. I'm like, dude, this is not a one-way street. Um, but I actually do like to meet some of these loan officers in person. Like if we're going to
Yeah,
be working together, because it could be AI for all we know,
absolutely.
right? So I work with one lender who I see in person at least once every couple months. Worst case scenario, we do it over Zoom. But like, okay, he's real. I've seen him in person. But for some of these other
Yeah,
loan officers, because again, if they come in with a Gmail email address, like that's already red flag number one,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And they just, a lot of them, so our information is super public, right? I
Right.
mean, we don't want to be secret agents. So we put all of our information out there. So you never know who's reaching out to you. Um, Most of the time, it's just, it is tough. Like you said, the way lenders work and stuff like that, they reach out to people on the MLS all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that stuff come across, like you said, the Gmail type thing. And yeah, I mean, it's something hard to look at. But going
Yeah.
back to it, I mean, we have some sort of intuition, a little more than the average person. And it's just tough to have our consumers say, well, look out for this, look out for that, because it's not something that they can learn right away or pick up on. But, I think the best thing that we could do is just educate them on what's going on what kind of issues we've all had. So that way they can at least know what's coming if it, something were to occur.
And I would touch on because for those who have watched a lot of my videos, I'm a little bit of an anti-realtor because there's so many bad ones out there. So it's not just a right. So
Yeah,
it's not so
100%.
much of like, oh, the realtor has a gut feeling. It's like, no, it's the experience that has the gut feeling,
Sure.
right?
Exactly.
My one of the biggest red flags for me with realtors is, oh, I've been in the business for 20 years. That means nothing. That is nothing. Because what if you only did one deal every 2 years?
Yeah.
You've done 10 deals in your career. Oh, but you've been in the business for 20 years. Number of years is
Oh,
not
100%.
indicative.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get that a lot. Just being a younger real estate agent in
Mm-hmm.
the industry, I get that all the time. And you're absolutely right. I mean, that means absolutely nothing if you have 20, 30 years of experience. Because I think every transaction is different. Every transaction is absolutely different than the last. And there's no two transactions that are the same.
Right.
And, there's just, you have to adapt and overcome. And the more adversity that you have, the better agent that I think you'll become. Even if you have a year in the business, or 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the business compared to somebody 30, it's just the amount of transactions that you go through. You're gonna see a lot more crap.
I mean, I always say I think I've seen it all, and then something new happens. months. And I'm like, okay. Like literally when my at the time fiance, now when we bought this house, a little bit of a tangent, but it was a guy that was selling. His wife had passed away, so he was just going to sell, move on, move to the East Coast.
Sure.
We were one of 17 offers. I got it accepted. Don't worry, I negotiated down almost 10%
Nice.
to below what we initially offered. But a couple days into escrow, the listing agent gets a phone call from some lady saying, "Why are you selling my house?" Lady was never dead.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
Right. And the seller had no
Oh,
idea,
no.
right? Because the seller actually worked in real estate. So he would have known that, yeah, a death certificate would have to be issued and all
Yeah.
that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, anything is possible.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I know. My wife, she's like, should we cancel? I'm like, why?
Oh,
Because they didn't have a
man.
listing agreement signed, right, with this
Wow.
woman. So technically, they didn't have an escrow. We didn't have. I was like, look, we're going off to Peru. We're going to the jungle with no reception. Let me pre-schedule the inspectors and then let them sort it out. We got back from the jungle, got cell phone reception, everything got worked out. We were in escrow. I'm like, all right,
What a story, man. That's insane.
right.
Wow.
So, can we see that with AI? Unlikely. Be hard. I could
Yeah.
say, well, maybe if someone had passed away and someone knew that that person passed away, so it's AI said, just kidding, I'm still alive, but that would still be somewhat hard to prove. I guess that kind of goes into the wholesaling side, where if someone claims to be, oh, I'm the owner of the house, but not really,
Right. And
because there's no
then
one to vouch for it.
exactly, that's the hard part. If there's nobody to fight for it, like I said, there's a lot of vacant land out here, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people bought vacant land, and that's what you see most common is vacant land or vacation homes. Canadians, they're huge here, right? They big population here, snowbird. So their house is empty 6, 7 months out of the year. And there's no telling. I mean, I've heard of cases out here in the city that I'm in, out in the country, their neighbor sold a home and it's going through escrow and there's people running by. Well, the neighbor goes and calls the owner and they're like, hey, there's a bunch of people at your house, yada, yada, yada. Well, it turns out somebody was faking as the owner and trying to sell that property. You know what I mean? I don't know how much AI can play into it, but I'm sure it can get real deep real fast.
Well, what we see a lot is actually on the rental side. So we see a
Oh,
lot of
oh,
scams with that. I remember I had a listing and it was actually me and the seller. We were leaving. It was a condo. And this lady comes up and says, "Hey, is this and this unit available?" We're like, "Well, no, we're in escrow." She's like, "Oh, it's not available for rent?" We're like, "No." She's like, "But I've already submitted my deposit."
wow.
Like, and I've heard that multiple times.
Yeah, that one's huge. I mean, it's
Yeah.
super popular. That's why you see a lot of these listings on I know OfferPad, Open Door, all these they put their watermarks on these pictures
Mm-hmm.
because people, they'll take them and then they'll set up these scams and it's all automated through AI. It's all automated. They have automated responses. There's nobody behind a keyboard responding to the inquiries, right? Of people like, hey, yeah, I got my $500 ready for the deposit. Let's go. They're like, nope, automated response. Hey, great, send it here, and it's just scam after scam after scam.
And with those bigger companies, you bring up an interesting point because I've had clients look at from OfferPad or what's the other big one that just got hit with a $62 million.
Open door.
Thank you, Open Door. There's so many hoops to jump through just to schedule a
Yeah,
showing because they're trying to automate as much as possible to lower their
yeah,
margins. So that is a perfect storm of stuff getting through the cracks.
yeah, absolutely. It's not only that their automation is that their structure is so big. The structure is so big that there's so much that could get lost,
Yeah.
right? There's so
So
many people, too many moving parts. I think I don't know if again, I'm not a multi-billion-dollar company, but I
not
just
yet.
feel like
Not
not yet,
yet.
not yet. I feel like I got to touch every page on the purchase contract personally, and a lot of these companies have, just people just signing off and letting it go.
So, more of the story, ladies and gentlemen, or whoever's watching this, don't list your place with Open Door. Right? Because there you're opening yourself up for scams.
Yep, exactly,
Right? There's
exactly.
these loopholes that can actually happen. And this isn't us doing a shameless plug by any stretch. This is just facts, which is part of the reason why I wanted to do this show. Was like,
Yes,
let's just look at what's actually possible.
absolutely.
So, all right. Well, Juan, is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Do you think we kind of covered everything?
No, man, I think we hit a bunch of pretty good points, a bunch of good suggestions. I'm gonna bring up to the title companies that I work with about the wire fraud instructions or the wire instructions. I mean, I thought that's great because,
Yeah,
like I
get
said,
partial
we
info.
get all of them. We get all of them, and then there's no reason, they still tell the client to call the number, and they don't. So if
Mm-hmm.
they send half the information, they're gonna have to call, and I love that. I think that's phenomenal, man. Thanks for that idea.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to start putting together a who's who for every escrow. So our
There you
clients
go.
know these are the only people that you should be hearing from.
Yep.
So that way, if there's anything outside of that, let us know and we'll verify. I
Perfect.
like that. All right. Juan, how can people get a hold of you?
Hey, just follow me on Instagram. That's the easiest way at J Lucero AZ Realtor. I know that's kind of long.
We'll put it
Rick's
in the
probably
show
gonna
notes.
put it in the show notes. And yeah, just give me a call. I'm buying houses all over the country, Rick. So
Okay.
I might buy a home in LA soon. If you got anything crummy, ugly, stinky, just give me a call, man. I'd buy
I'll
it.
I'll make sure it was because of my fault. I drank a glass of milk and I'm lactose intolerant. So I'll make sure to make that happen.
Hey,
All
it
right.
was a pleasure, man. Thank you for
It
inviting me
was.
on your show, man. I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun.
Cool. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching.
We'll see you guys.